Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. In today's video we'll be covering 3 ways the developers could improve the Fantasy Premier League game. In the video we'll focus on 3 areas of improvement: new chips, new game mode and an improved points scoring system. Before we get into today's video, why not subscribe to the channel, like the video and comment down below how you would improve the game. The first improvement we'll be focusing on is new chips that the developers could add into the game. Currently FPL has 4 chips at manager's disposal: free hit, triple captain, bench boost and 2 wildcards. Last season did see an increase of free hits though, as managers were gifted an extra one due to the hectic schedule changes caused by COVID. Obviously we've seen this season how crucial playing chips are at the right time can be. Personally for me, I played my triple captain at the right time, triple captain Mohamed Salah in game week 26, and my rank went from 250k to 150k. Similarly in game week 37, I was kind of hovering around the 200k mark and boosted myself up to 150k with my free hit. So that just shows the importance of chips throughout the season. However, is it time that FPL added a new chip to the game? The chip that I am suggesting that FPL potentially could add is the Limitless chip. Now the Limitless free hit would allow players to make unlimited transfers with no budget restrictions. So similar to a free hit, you can change every player on your team for 1 game week and it will revert to your normal team after. However, unlike a free hit, you have an unlimited budget. We've seen this chip before in the Champions League Fantasy and the Euro 2020 last summer, which it was kind of a really popular chip that a lot of people used during that tournament and during that kind of game. And there was a call for it last year to be introduced because it's a really interesting chip to be added to the game. The main reason for me is why I'd like to see it added is down to the fact that it could be a great asset for double game weeks. Obviously we saw like a lot of players, there was a big swing in terms of people who went for a triple captain. For example, Mohamed Salah, it was triple captain Salahs versus free hitters. Now obviously Salah came out on top by an absolute landslide, just down to the pure fact of his individual brilliance. However, with a Limitless chip, would that mean then that there's more consideration, more thought that has to go in these decisions? Because with a free hit, yes, it allows you to change your team and kind of target the best fixtures and best teams. But it also, you have to focus on the budget constraints. You've also got to manage which premium assets that you can pick. And when you're going up against a triple captain, it kind of, if an individual performance kind of knocks that off, it makes the free hit kind of a little bit redundant at times. Whereas I feel if you had that Limitless option, imagine if you went into a double game week, right? Let's say City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs all have absolutely great fixtures. Imagine your team looking like, Ederson in goal, James, Alonso, Cancelo, Trent at the back, like full stacked back line. Then you could have De Bruyne, Son, Salah, Kane up front. Like it would be an absolute insane team that would definitely rival rival a triple captain. And that, I think that's what a lot of players want as well. They want to be holding these premium kind of assets because they're so fun to own. And I think we've seen it this season is there are so many of them that you can't own them all at one time. But if you could own them just for 1 game week at all time, for me that would be like a real joy and a real exciting kind of prospect to own. Obviously there is a little bit of debate with this one. Do you maybe include it and you play with 5 chips for the season, or do you have take out free hit and just add Limitless, or do you kind of have 1 of each? That's the big debate. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of the Limitless chip. Personally, I liked it during Euro 2020 and I believe it would be a fantastic asset for double game weeks, but let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on the Limitless free hit chip. The next area that we're going to focus on is a new game mode being added to FPL. FPL has seen an absolutely incredible rise over the past few years, rising to over 9 million players this season. With that increase of players, is it time for them to add a new game mode, attract more players and maintain that growth? Obviously, there is huge competition within kind of the fantasy football and fantasy sports world at the moment. Previously, FPL's main competitors were the likes of Sky and Sun Dream Team within the UK. However, they did follow similar kind of principles. You picked a team at the start of the season and kind of developed it with chips and stuff throughout the year, and it kind of, you know, progressed each week. However, there has been a rise of a new competitor in the forms of Spitch and So Rare, both working quite differently. We will come on to talk about kind of how they work, but for me, these are new competitors that could maybe force FPL's hand into creating a new game mode. So let's take a look how that new game mode would work. So the new game mode would work very much like Spitch. If you don't know how Spitch works, I hope I'm saying that right. Basically, you are given 100 million each week and are basically told to build the best team. Whoever scores the most points wins prizes. It's usually cash prizes. So obviously FPL wouldn't be able to do cash prizes simply down to the fact that then it would become a plus 18 game. And, you know, there's a risk of gambling and kind of that in there. And they kind of don't want that because, you know, they're going to lose a lot of players through that. However, they'd have to make it, you know, non-cash prizes in terms of that. But yeah, so it worked very similar to the way that the Spitch game works. You're given £100 million each week and told to build the best team. I've put here the prizes for the top 100 managers each week. Maybe a little bit too high, maybe like the top 10 or whatever. But I think the reason that I'd give away prizes, not even like big prizes, just like an FPL mug. It'd be really cool for, like, you know, players to show off that they've got the top 10 in that week with just like an FPL mug. There's no real monetary value behind that. And I think the massive thing for me that would help kind of kick this game mode off would be to help keep the casual player engaged. You see it all the time. I see it in like work leagues and with my friends and stuff. We'll play FPL, but kind of a lot of them will give up after a few game weeks and not touch their teams. I think we saw this earlier in the season where Mohamed Salah was injured and he was still the most captain player. Like, he wasn't even going to play that game week. So there's a lot of dead players currently within the kind of database who kind of start the season and then kind of just fall away because they're probably a little bit bored, because after a while, you know, you're not really changing too much within your team, especially if you've had a bad start to the year as well. It could, you know, it's very easy to become disillusioned by the game. So I think if they had a fact where they could just change the team every week, get the best players in and kind of, you know, focus on just one game week ranges, I think that would keep a lot more of the casual players engaged. I think another good thing as well that it would do would mean that content creators have even more content to create in that kind of way. Obviously, some of the top guys will probably disagree with this point, but some weeks within FPL, I think it's quite easy to figure out what you're kind of gonna do. I remember there was a point earlier in the season where kind of Salah was perma-captain and transfers were pretty routine. You know what I mean? There are some game weeks where, like, it kind of, it's very easy to kind of know what you're going to do, who you're going to captain, and it's, you know, there's not really much thought that you've got to do with that. However, if you've got to create a new team every single week, I think that would be fantastic for content creators to keep up, you know, just even 1-2 videos a week. That would be great for them. Extra content through the door, hopefully more viewers. And I believe this could be a great way to keep casual players engaged in the game and fight off some of that competition from Spitch. But let me know down in the comments below what you think of the new game mode. Is there any kind of new format or something like that that you'd like to see added to the FPL game? Just let me know down in the comments below. And the final area that we're going to talk about in this video is kind of a new point scoring system I put there. That's not quite correct. It's more like an updated point scoring system, as the FPL current system for me needs a little bit of tweaking as it favors midfielders over forwards. So I think there needs to be just a little bit of kind of a rehaul of the system. So let's kind of take a look at why the problems are arising at the moment and how we can fix them. So as I've said, the current system favors midfielders, and as you can see kind of from the chart on the right, I don't know if you can quite tell how good that is. I'll leave a link so you can go look at this for yourself. But a goal for each midfielder scores 5 points and a goal for each forward scores 4 points. Now that is kind of where the disparity begins, and it does continue, especially with midfielders getting a clean sheet point as well. So you could have a player like Son who scores 1 goal and Spurs keep a clean sheet. He will get 2 more points than if Harry Kane did the exact same thing, just scored 1 goal that was it. To me, that means that, you know, your team balance is going to probably be focused more on midfielders, getting the premium midfielders within your team. And I think as well, it just kind of doesn't reward forwards for doing the job that they're supposed to do. You know, they are supposed to score goals. So why are we not rewarding them with higher points for scoring goals? Especially when it comes to captaincy as well. If, like, we'll use the example again, Son, Kane, both did the exact same thing, but you're getting 4 more points out of Son for captaining him. So, you know, your captaincy option most weeks is going to be favourable for a midfielder with a better fixture than a forward, purely down to the fact that you could gain an extra 4 points, which could mean like a massive, massive rank boost if you do that throughout the season. So for me, there needs to be a tweak of this system. Reward forwards for doing the job that they're supposed to do, even if it's just that 1 point increase so they match midfielders for 5, obviously 5 points for a goal. I think that would then cure this imbalance that's currently going off, because otherwise surely it's better to go for 2 premium midfielders and a kind of cheaper forwards up top. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to get rewarded for having that forward up front and paying that extra premium cost. For me, it just seems a little bit redundant at the moment. But let me know what you think about this. And the other point that has been raised on Twitter, when I put a little bit of a poll out asking for your guys' opinions on how the game could be improved, someone suggested kind of defensive players being able to score more points. Obviously, this can be seen within the bonus point metric. Again, I'll leave a link down to that in the description below. But yeah, basically, within that metric, they score bonus points for tackles, like ball progression, passes, blocks, all that kind of stuff. And someone raised the point on Twitter suggesting that maybe kind of defensive midfielders and defenders should get points for tackles or blocks. And I do believe this could be a very good point, because, you know, there are a lot of players within the game that are just really redundant and just not really valid for, you know, large parts of the year. You're thinking players like Henderson, Rodri, Fernandinho, all these players who you kind of like, yeah, I'm never going to own you. But if there was a way where they could potentially score points through, you know, kind of doing their job, the kind of the unseen midfield engine battling kind of job, then that would make them more attractive prospects. However, my only concern, and I did raise this on Twitter, was the fact it would be harder for the more casual players to kind of understand this concept, and a little bit more harder for the game to kind of track. I feel it, you know, with a goal or an assist, there's like a key area. I know they get the data from Opta and whatever, but then there's going to be a little bit more controversy as well, especially surrounding like if tackles is introduced. It's an interesting debate, but personally, I do believe that these kind of defensive players shouldn't be awarded new points. However, I'm very much in favour of forwards being like having extra increased points for doing the job that they're supposed to do. However, please let me know down in the comments below how you feel about the current point scoring metrics and kind of how the whole system works. There's been a lot of debate over the past few years about how it kind of all works, so I'd be interested to know your guys' thoughts. And finally, if you did enjoy today's video, please do smash the like button. Please do subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year, and we can only do that with your help. Comment down below about the different ideas. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if we hit, you know, a good amount of likes and a good amount of views on this video, we'll definitely look at creating a second part, looking at some new ideas that could be implemented in the game.